Red Bull is going through a rough patch with their second driver. Lawson had to go after a couple of races, and Tsunoda's isn't getting up to speed either. So what's next for the squad? Well, out of nowhere, a left field contender has appeared. Someone that might just be able to take control of the difficult Red Bull car. Who? Valtteri Bottas. But it's not that easy of a deal. Valtteri Bottas has effectively restated his availability to Red Bull's Formula One squad for next season, but is aware that his chances appear to be hampered by at least one individual there who is not a big fan of mine. Bottas is spending 2025 as a reserve driver for Mercedes after losing his Sauber spot, which he had intended to hold until the Audi Works team era began in 2026. Although Bottas will be 36 in August, he is still eager to extend his F1 career, and his management has had preliminary discussions with a number of teams, including Red Bull, Alpine, and the impending Cadillac entry. However, initial Red Bull conversations also took place for this season when he was looking around for a drive and did not get far. This is thought to be because Red Bull senior racing advisor Helmut Marko dislikes Bottas and was reportedly enraged by the first corner crash he caused at the Hungarian Grand Prix during Max Verstappen's 2021 title battle with Bottas's then Mercedes teammate Lewis Hamilton. It just got put down quite quickly because I think there's certain persons, or a person, within the Red Bull organization that for some reason is not a big fan of mine, Bottas said. I don't know if they look outside their academy. They have so many drivers. They've got their junior team as well. It's a tough one because it seems like it's not an easy car to drive. Obviously, Max is doing the job. He's really pushing almost beyond the limits of the car, and whoever has been alongside him hasn't looked great. But I don't know. I just wonder if that car, to be driven fast, needs a driver with experience. That's my speculation, but I think they know that I'm keen to race. They know that I would be available for next year. But I don't know their mindset on that. Red Bull has returned to pairing Verstappen with its own drivers after 4 seasons with the seasoned Sergio Perez. That was due to juniors Pierre Gasly and Alex Albon being burned by the increasingly difficult-to-drive Red Bulls as Verstappen's position as the team's #1 driver became more secure, and the cars were designed around his preferences and feelings in the car. However, Red Bull has already sacked Perez's replacement, Liam Lawson, after only 2 races this season, and Yuki Tsunoda has not made a particularly good impact since taking over the seat. Racing Bull's rookie Isaac Hadjar has surged up Red Bull's pecking order, and unless his spectacular rookie season falters, he will almost probably be ahead of Bottas on any Red Bull list for 2026 drives. Bottas does not have many options for returning to the grid next year because the majority of drivers are under contract. Cadillac appeared to be his best option, with extension talks taking place between Bottas, his representatives, and senior Cadillac F1 players. However, Cadillac has also discussed recruiting Sergio Perez, Zhou Guanyu, and Mick Schumacher, so Bottas is not the only driver in the running, and there is no indication that Cadillac is in a hurry to make a decision. Bottas stated that August more or less is a pretty good target for revealing his future plans, and that Cadillac is a very interesting project. If I would be there as a driver, it would be actually very interesting because you can start from scratch, the team starts from zero, and you could actually make a big influence on certain things. Which direction to go, said Bottas. That would be very motivating and rewarding when the success comes. However, Mercedes' client team Alpine, which is now facing driver shortages, could be an option as well. Alpine fired Jack Doohan after only 6 races this season, albeit he remains on a long-term contract, and his replacement, Franco Colapinto, has had a disastrous first 3 races in the seat. Young driver Paul Aron is also in the picture as a reserve. However, Alpine has had some discussions with Bottas's management team, he stated, and Alpine is known to be open to hiring a more experienced driver from outside its own pool, as Red Bull is. They do have a Mercedes power unit for the future, which I think is a good call, Bottas remarked. They're on the 2nd driver this year, and I think the next races will show how that goes again. Experience can always help, but there's lots of politics in this sport. I don't have tens of millions to pay for a seat, for example. It depends on the team, but I do have some personal partners that could potentially join me, but not to the extent to some others. Let's wait and see if you race to see how things go. You never know if something opens up. If an F1 seat is not attainable, Bottas stated that everything is wide open, and he has underlined his interest in IndyCar, having toyed with the notion late last year when he received an offer for a 2025 seat. Ovals. I've never tried them, but I've got no concerns, Bottas stated. If it's not Formula One next year for me, I definitely need to figure out what is the plan B, and one option definitely is IndyCar. And if that would be the case, I would want to commit to many years, because I know it's not going to be easy. It's a different category, different cars, different tracks. But let's not talk about it too much yet. Try to stay within F1. Could you envision Bottas as Red Bull's second driver? Let's hope he's not betting on that, since Tsunoda appears to be set up for success by Red Bull. Yuki Tsunoda's hopes of finding the answers he needs to overcome his lack of form have received a timely boost this week with a double Formula One test for Red Bull. After a Spanish Grand Prix weekend that left Tsunoda perplexed as to why he finished last on the grid, he has finally got the opportunity to acquire some critical test time with his squad with a 2-day run in Barcelona. And the timing couldn't be better, as it happened at a track where he competed the weekend, raising serious questions about where he stands with his current car. He stated this past weekend, "This Grand Prix somehow, the pace, just drops massively for whatever reason, and I'm not able to show my performance, which is a shame. It's something that for this Grand Prix I feel is really strange." Tsunoda is running in Red Bull's 2026 Rules Mule car, a modified version of the team's 2023 RB19 design, on the second day of a Pirelli test aimed at producing tyres for next year's all-new regulations. On Tuesday, he also had a day of testing of previous car, TPC, in Barcelona in the same RB19, but to a different specification, as Red Bull wanted to make the most of his time there. Back in April, Red Bull arranged for Tsunoda to have a day of TPC running in the vehicle at Silverstone in order to assist him unlock some setup secrets and gain a better understanding of the squad's current ground effect competitors. However, bad weather significantly curtailed his running, since Red Bull did not want to burn through Tsunoda's yearly TPC mileage on a wet track in case another opportunity arose. And that opportunity came this week, with Red Bull due to participate in Pirelli's 2026 development test alongside Mercedes driver Kimi Antonelli on Wednesday. Red Bull felt that since its car and team were already in Barcelona, it made sense to use up its TPC days the day before the mule car test. The benefit of TPC testing's openness, which allows Tsunoda to experiment with setups, would provide some value that the 2026 evaluation plan does not. The testing of mule cars is governed by Formula One's sports laws, and there are limits in place to ensure that teams do not benefit from their current campaigns. The conditions include the following: no test parts, test software or component changes will be permitted, which give any sort of information to the competitor that is unrelated to the mule car test, unless specifically requested by the FIA. Furthermore, changing setups is highly restricted. The rules are clear that for the mule car test, mechanical setup changes and driver control changes are only permitted if they are necessary for the correct evaluation of the test items or to complete the test program. These changes must be agreed in advance with the FIA and the tyre supplier if tyre testing is to be carried out. Tsunoda admitted at the Spanish Grand Prix that he is still struggling to fully understand his current RB21. In qualifying, the last few tenths is about being able to extract more with track evolution and wing flap change, he said. Even within the qualifying, the track conditions change, and with that, I'm still trying to find the limit. In my previous car, in VCARB, obviously I know what's happening in the background, how the car was. I could push flat out. I am not fully trusting yet about this car, and those few milliseconds, few tenths that are missing, are quite important. Red Bull appears to be planning to keep Tsunoda for the rest of the season, and they are doing everything they can to help him succeed at Red Bull. So, where does it leave Bottas? Cadillac is the likely choice, with Perez, Bottas, and Zhou as current favourites. So what are your thoughts? Does Bottas have a possibility of ending up in a Red Bull? Or will he be driving for Cadillac next year? Let me know your opinions in the comments section below.